All right, are you ready for another ranking video? Welcome if you are new here, my name is Rachel, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I love doing ranking videos here on my channel, and I also love indie makeup, and I also love Blend Bunny Cosmetics. If you've been here before, you know how I feel about their eyeshadow formula, and all their products actually are wonderful, but their eyeshadow formula is one of my absolute favorites. And today I'm going to have the hard task of ranking all of my Blend Bunny eyeshadow palettes. I do own all 7 palettes that they've come out with, and so I'm gonna rank them from my least favorite to my most favorite. Now, of course, I like all of these palettes. I collect Blend Bunny palettes. I will buy whatever palette they come out with because I just love the brand and I wanna support the brand, and I fully enjoy their formulas. So just because something is on the bottom, it doesn't mean that it's a bad palette. It doesn't mean I dislike the palette. I like all of these palettes. It's really just based on mostly color story and what I tend to reach for more and all of that. And it's really just based on my own preferences. I'm gonna link all of the palettes down below, except one is discontinued, but everything else is available. So I will leave links for them down below in the description box. I bought all of these palettes myself except for one, and when I get to it, I will let you know which one I did receive in PR, but let's get started. By the way, as I'm going through this, I wanna know what your favorite palette is from Blend Bunny, or you can rank your Blend Bunny palettes in the comments down below. I would love that as well. I'm not wearing Blend Bunny on my eyes today, by the way. I'm wearing the Gourmand Girls Doodles by the Bunny, the Nightshade palette. If you wanna see how I got this look, I will link that video down below. But anyway, let's get to the ranking. I'm not stalling. So coming in at number 7, this palette is at the bottom, obviously, but again, it's not a bad palette. This is the Surge palette. So I should just get this out of the way and say this now. Blend Bunny has one of my most favorite matte formulas. I think the mattes in all of their palettes are consistent. They all perform the same. So really, like when I talk formula between the different palettes, I'm really gonna mostly talk about shimmers because the mattes perform great across the board. So the thing that's putting this more at the bottom is color story and the shimmers. So these shimmers I don't feel like are my favorite type of shimmer. They're not the sparkliest, which is fine sometimes. Like I don't always want an ultra sparkly shimmer, but these ones are just a little bit more flat in my opinion. Some of them are. Some of them are actually really sparkly, like these 2 neutral ones are, but the rest of these are a little bit more subtle, so just not my favorite. And then the color story of this, I actually find I don't really gravitate towards this color story, and I feel like when I first got this palette, I kind of had a harder time coming up with looks. Now I did get this palette quite a while ago now. I haven't reached into it recently. I would be kind of excited to do that because it's been so long, but I really just sometimes felt a little confused as to what to do with this palette. Now with that being said, she really does a good job of creating looks through columns. She lays it out so that you have a gradient that you can just stick to the columns. So it's not that difficult to create a look, obviously. But just of all the palettes, this one is the one I gravitate towards the least, but still very good. And if you are looking for like neon mattes, these are great because these are true neon, probably not even showing on camera as they are in person. They're extremely neon, and that's not something you come across every day. Coming in at number 6, I have the Primal palette, and this one is the one that is discontinued, but this one is a absolutely beautiful rainbow-ish palette. It's not the complete rainbow, but it's got quite a bit of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue. It does have the entire rainbow, never mind. I love how saturated these tones are. The mattes are great, obviously, and the shimmers in this are just a little deeper than I prefer, typically. I really like a light shimmer, maybe a mid-tone shimmer, and all of these shimmers are pretty dark. But I will say the formula of these shimmers is definitely stepped up from the Surge palette. They are sparkly, they are vibrant, they are more oomphy, they're really beautiful. And they've got like a really fine sparkle to them, while still being smooth. So they're not like thick and chunky, they're really nice. And I really love, like I always reach into my Blend Bunny palettes for my matte white and my matte black. So I do love that there is like a bigger pan. I mean, I would have been fine with it being a smaller pan. it doesn't really bother me. I'm just glad that they're there because I enjoy the matte white, matte black from the brand. I tend to reach for them a lot. So yeah, that's kind of the only reason it's coming in here, but still a very good palette. I really, really enjoy this one. Coming in at number 5, I have the Lure palette. So this was their palette they came out with earlier this year, I believe, and I love the smaller size. That is definitely something that I enjoy from Blend Money when they have these like a little bit more curated, a little bit smaller palettes. I just find that they're easier to like travel with or use, but even the bigger palettes aren't that big. It's a little deceiving. Like they're not ginormous and they're very like thin and sleek and light. They're not heavy, so that's really good. The shimmers in this are ultra sparkly, ultra like out there. This shade called Pearl is absolutely beautiful. It is a multi-chrome. I'm not even sure that I'm gonna be able to capture it on camera, but it is like a silver to a like a white gold to a pink. And on the lids, it is absolutely beautiful. Color story wise, I'm not really a blue girl. It's not a color that I really gravitate towards most of the time. And so this has quite a lot of blue in it. And so that's why it's coming in at number 5. But if you like blue, purple, pink, this is a great one because it is a little smaller. It's got really pretty shimmers and the quality is great, obviously. Coming in at number 4, I have the Dollhouse palette. So we're getting closer to my neutral heart here because I'm a neutral girl. I love neutrals. This is kind of more leaning cool tone neutral. And the way that she described it was a neutral palette for the colorful lover and a colorful palette for the neutral lover. And I can absolutely see that because when you look at it, you obviously are getting a lot of neutrals, but you're also getting colors in more muted tones. So I love that. If you want to dabble in color, you don't wear like bright blues, bright greens, anything like that, this would be a great place to start where you're still going to get that beautiful matte quality, and there's a lot more shimmers in this. You've got a row of more light to mid-tone shimmers, and then you have a row of deeper shimmers, so you can really play around with the different tones. These shimmers are really sparkly, and some of the shimmers in this almost have a very light colored base to them, so I think that's really interesting. It has a really nice mirror. I really enjoy this one. It's pretty large, but you get a lot in it, and so I really enjoy it. Coming in at number 3, I have the Sugar and Grunge palette. This is their newest palette. This is the palette that I did receive in PR. I was so thankful because obviously I love the brand so much. Absolutely love the packaging. Absolutely love the theming. It's like 90s, early 2000s nostalgia, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of grunge. And then on the inside, you have this color story. Again, I would say it's more muted colors, a little bit grungy, but also you've got the pop of pastels. I really enjoy having pastels because I really love putting them in my inner corner. It's one of my favorite things, and I can always mix one of these pastels with a white to make it even brighter. I've really enjoyed that. Again, you have the corresponding columns so that you can stick to a cohesive look. And she's also switched up the shimmers to not be in the corresponding column, which I think is interesting. A lot of people were kind of upset about it. I think it's great. I think it makes it look a little more chaotic, and that's kind of going with the theme. And it makes sense to me to do that. And again, it's really not a big deal to just find the corresponding shimmer. These shimmers are really pretty, that sparkly type of formula. I like to kind of layer a matte on my lid, take one of the shimmers and just tap it over so that I get the sparkle without getting like any sort of creasing, because I can sometimes get creasing with these shimmers because they're very emollient. So just be aware of that. But love the tones, love the theming, love the color story, really enjoy this one. Okay, so I only have 2 palettes left. What do you think is gonna be number 2? And what do you think is gonna be number 1? Pause right now, put it in the comments which ones you think are gonna be 2 and 1. So coming in at number 2, I have the All Done Up palette. I love this palette. It's the smallest palette, which makes me so happy. Love the packaging. It is like a soft matte feel to it with the lips. And this is her like glam palette. I love the looks I've gotten out of this. It is heavily neutral, but again, there is a little bit of muted color in there. You have a row of greens, you have a row of like rosy tones, mustards, true neutral browns, and then like a black, a gray, and a white. Again, love having white and black in the palette. These shimmers are the sparkliest, very shiny, ultra glam, which goes with the theme. So I definitely suggest wetting your brush or putting down a glitter primer to catch that glitter reflect, because it can cause some fallout if you're not careful, at least in my experience, but the end result is absolutely beautiful. I love neutrals. I love a smaller palette. It also has a mirror, and this is just like my go-to glam palette. I could travel with this so easily, get everyday looks, get glam looks, night looks, daytime looks, anything you want with this, you've got it. And coming in at number 1, can I get a drum roll, please? I have the very first palette I ever bought from the brand. Actually, I won it in a giveaway, and that is the Blends palette. I've used this palette so much. I take it with me when I go to dance competitions. I am a professional dancer, and so this is my go-to palette. I can use this in conjunction with any shimmers that I want, and I'm gonna build out a perfect matte look. Or I can do an all matte look with this, obviously. This is their true rainbow palette. It's got all the mattes that you may need. Every time I'm missing a matte in a palette that I'm using, I dip into this palette. I know I can find the color I'm looking for, and I know the quality is going to be top notch. I love Blend Bunny matte formula, so anytime I can get a palette full of their mattes, I'm signing up for it. The quality is unbelievable, and it's just like my go-to companion palette. I will forever have this in my collection. It will forever be in my top drawer because I dip into this all the time. I love it. So if you've never tried Blend Bunny's matte formula, this is definitely one I would suggest starting with. The matte formula in Blend Bunny is super blendable. It shows up true to pan without being too pigmented to the point where it's hard to work with. Very easy to work with. You can shear it out, you can build it up, you can mix, you can match. They build on top of each other easily. It's just a great matte formula. So I love an all matte palette from Blend Bunny. I hope she comes out with more. That would be great. All right, and that is it for this Blend Bunny ranking video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below letting me know your thoughts. Have you tried the brand before? Like I said, rank your Blend Bunny palettes down in the comments. Or if you've never tried the brand before, which palette that I showed you today would be like your vibe? I would love to know. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, and I would love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.